Welcome to No Room for Phonies, episode 164. I don't know what we're going to do when we hit 200 episodes.
We'll celebrate somehow.
250? I think we'll get there. We both stay alive. I guess we will.
I think so.
Anyway, this episode is about worldviews
and how you view the world.
And I've been thinking a lot about that just simply because the world is a little crazy at the moment and keeps kind of getting...
That's your worldview.
Crazier. Well,
I think we all...
There's a lot of things.
I think we all think it's crazy.
Yeah. And so I think your worldview is your fundamental mental framework for understanding reality and truth and where your place in the universe is.
And knowing your worldview is crucial because it acts as an invisible lens through which you interpret your lived experiences, how you govern your ethics and inner compass, and how you make daily life choices.
And so it's the mental lens through which you interpret reality, and it's really the foundation for your beliefs. And I know that I've been kind of having this little thing lately where I think, okay, I'm turning 63. What am I not willing to accept anymore? What am I not willing to put up with? How am I going to be different in what I consider to be the last third of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm happy and lucky enough to live into my 90s.
Yep.
So
that's what we're facing.
You know, so understanding this internal framework offers you some benefits. And for me, it's how I view the world is my foundation for how I act. So my deepest beliefs about origin and purpose and morality drive my choices and my behaviors and my priorities.
And I think that's true at all generations. Well, adults, children.
Yeah.
Children have different drives.
No,
but,
I get that.
And I think things shift as well.
Yeah, and I think
go through the different decades.
Your worldview also shows your own self-awareness because it reveals kind of your hidden biases and your assumptions and allows you to ensure your thoughts align with your values. And I don't think we think and talk about that enough, actually really.
No. And then understanding the internal framework of your worldview also helps you navigate culture and conflict. So it helps you understand why others might disagree with you, and it leads to better communication, empathy, and intercultural competence as well.
So if you have a worldview that we must treat everyone in the world humanely, then no matter what you feel about another person's, say, position on something, you still believe in treating people humanely.
And yet, if you are a person whose worldview is that power is important and you must always climb and get more power or status than other people, that'll inform how you communicate and whether or not you can even empathize with others.
Yeah. So it also helps you to evaluate information, because if you know your own lens well, you can critically evaluate the perspectives presented just by media and society. And I think media has gotten really bad because it kind of presents things biased on both ends, as the world has, like, when there's a politician around who is more right, then media tends to be more left, at least some media does. And so we don't even consider another view because of the lens that we're seeing things from. So
exactly.
I found, as I was researching, I found 20 worldviews, and I think you combine them. Like there's aspects of some that...
Yeah, there's overlap, and it depends on who were the original, people who penned the different concepts and whatever. They were divided into two orientations, inward and outward. So one of the first inward orientation characteristics is observation over action. So a person with this worldview, instead of evaluating how a situation benefits you, you first primarily act as an observer. And it's the practice of being genuinely receptive to what is currently happening, both within your mind and your body.
And you're focusing actually on your own inner growth, self-awareness and introspection and personal development. and it's very values driven and integrated. So individuals with this orientation are often driven by values like self-actualization and wisdom and compassion and finding subjective meaning kind of in the universe.
And an outward orientation, you see others, you stop making assumptions about people or viewing them as objects or obstacles. Instead, you get curious about their actual needs and circumstances, and you adjust your efforts. You change how you work or interact to support the goals of people around you, and you measure the impact of your life. You take accountability of how your behaviors and decisions affect those you live or work with.
And then the other one is kind of like the beginner, it's called the beginner's mind. And it's like kind of like a Zen mind of releasing preconceptions and embracing infinite possibilities and working on overcoming your cognitive biases and cultivating kind of that idea of presence and wonder. So everyday experience become infused with this kind of deep curiosity, and it's kind of like that whole idea of living in the moment, and practicing this mind that is actually takes some deliberate effort because our brains naturally default to all these familiar patterns when we get comfortable.
Plus, we start to think that we're experts very quickly.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast, and the one of the guests was talking about going on a 45-day meditation retreat. I can't imagine doing that. But anyway, and as he struggled during his meditation practice, the guru or the teacher, whatever, would say things like, oh, you need to go back to your beginner mind.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting.
Yeah.
He had meditated for years, and yet he was still tripping up on things. And so it was like going back to
your beginner mind. And the other worldview is the humility worldview, where you practice active listening and embrace feedback and shift from proving to learning. So stop trying, with kind of what you're saying, stop trying to be the smartest person in the room and check your ego.
Yeah, don't let the need to one up others or claim credit dictate your actions. Acknowledge that you're just part of a larger community or team.
And then there's a moral curiosity worldview, where you have a genuine desire to comprehend why people hold the moral or ethical beliefs that they do,
rather than just insist that everybody else share yours.
Oh, you must be totally wrong. When it was interesting to me, not that this is moral, but I just listened to the book Finding My Way, the Malala as an adult, and it really, stuck with me how much how curiosity is so important, because I sometimes would look at that and say that's just ridiculous. But when you understand how entrenched that is and why, you kind of become open to kind of engaging with some other ethical frameworks and ideas that are different from your own. And it's kind of the willingness to actively discuss and debate subjective moral issues rather than just shying away because of you have some kind of ideological difference.
And I know, like, we're always hard on MAGA crowds, for example, of being so shut into their own biases and prejudices and whatever that they don't, like, they can't.
But that's become what the problem is.
I think we can all slip into that very quickly.
Yeah, well, it's like saying, I don't approve of status. Well, then your status is that you don't approve of status. So
the next one is a scientific curiosity, where you value ambiguity and you embrace the unknown rather than avoid it. So when you make your hypothesis, you're embracing the unknown rather than
and you actually treat opinions as hypotheses. And you balance the joyful pull of exploring new topics with the intense need to solve problems or resolve some kind of confusion. And you kind of cultivate that scientific mindset by asking open-ended questions and that sort of curiosity rule. If you don't know something, or you get stuck in a conversation or a study session or something, you don't pretend you understand or pretend you have the knowledge. And you kind of embrace that kind of broad attention where you notice things that you might feel were irrelevant at the beginning. So it really expands your brain, and it's really hard to do, I think, for people, especially if they are tied to a certain culture. Like, I can just picture some of the Mennonites that we went to church with trying to have a broad curiosity for things. That's just not their mindset.
No. And it was very interesting being a missionary kid and going to school with children of missionaries of all sorts of other Protestant denominations, how each denomination would be so narrow-minded. And as kids, we kind of took our parents' ideas and we insisted on them rather than having a great opportunity to learn from each other.
Yeah. So then there's the detachment worldview, where you practice detachment. So you act on the process, not the outcome. So you are in control of your effort, but never the end result. So by pouring your energy into the doing, you free yourself from the anxiety of the getting. And you commit to your goals, but you separate your self-worth from the results. And that's really hard.
Yeah. And I think it's so funny thinking of process and outcome, going a little bit into the world of crafts. There are process knitters and product knitters, or outcome knitters. And the process knitters don't really care if they ever finish something, or that's not the main drive. It's just enjoying the whole procedure. And then the outcome knitters, they want that product because they want to have somebody compliment them on what they're wearing, or wow, you achieved this, or whatever. So it's even in a small niche like that, you can have this, you can slide into outcome rather than process really quickly.
And you don't have to over attach to every passing feeling or impulse, and you can just observe emotions from a distance instead of reacting to every trigger, and you kind of create that pause, and you detach sort of from praise and criticism. So if you rely on external validation for your happiness, then the disapproval destroys you. So true freedom comes from doing things that align with your core values,
not about
not being noticed, which is hard for people because your intentions are the thing that really matter, and they're hard for other people to see.
Right. And I mean, this goes for each of us when we post something on social media. We need to ask ourselves, are we doing it for ourselves, or do we want the likes and the clicks and the shares?
Yeah.
I mean, for podcasters, yes, we want you to share and like as much as possible.
But not because we want to be...
We don't want praise.
No, we just feel that the things that we're sharing actually make a difference. So we want people to see them.
Yeah.
And then there's the idea of letting others take responsibility. And the mindset is you love and support people deeply without absorbing their moods or attempting to fix their circumstances. And that's where you kind of develop the mindset that you set healthy boundaries. You love others by allowing them to be responsible for your own choices. And then you don't have to play savior, right?
Another worldview is embracing impermanence, or getting used to the fact that nothing stays the same forever. So not pain, not joy, not relationships, and not your current circumstances. Fighting the natural flow of change causes a lot of unnecessary pain and suffering.
There's a quote, right? Like, pain is not optional, but suffering is a choice.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's the worldview where you focus on commonality. So you foster connection, and you reduce that idea of bias, and it creates safety because it centers on shared experiences. A conscious commonality creates a safe place for talking about opposing views if you know that somebody's not going to jump down your throat. And there's
and then some strategies to work on commonality, or the focus on commonality, is to reframe identities using subordinate levels. So use team or community or humanity to align diverse groups.
And just be open in your those open-ended questions, and focusing on process, and validate unique perspectives first. Acknowledge the individual differences and say, yeah, that's something I've never thought of before. Let's talk about it. And then there's the nature worldview where you get some sensory grounding, you go places, you
Forest bathing.
Yeah, you do mindful movement, you have a gentle self-care routine. So all that idea of getting outside, being outside, and how that, helps you as to look at the world. Um, that idea of, and then the other worldview where you embrace the unknown and you travel to new places and you ditch your checklist of rushing and you practice gratitude and you navigate foreign menus, transit systems, or speaking basic phrases. Like it's kind of, that whole idea of travel. I mean, that's not my worldview, but I like trying new things. I don't necessarily, that's just not my worldview.
Right.
But I do have, I feel, a global citizenship mindset. Because
where we espouse cultural intelligence, appreciating differences rather than just tolerating them. And we try to build relationships with people from diverse backgrounds.
And we're system thinkers. We actually do recognize that personal, business, or total or local actions do have worldwide consequences, and we see those, right?
Yep.
And we believe in adaptability where, you demonstrate emotional intelligence and being open to ambiguity, even though it's not as fun.
Ambiguity is very uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. And then there's the empathetic worldview where, you take other people's perspective. If I walked in their path, how would I feel and react?
And you practice active listening and you listen to understand rather than try to formulate a response in your head.
And there's the idea, like there's the head in the sand right now where people don't want to hear anything because there's a lot of stuff that's disturbing right now. But if you actively consume media and read fiction or engage in discussions with people from different backgrounds, different from your own, then you can,
empathize with them better.
and you can validate someone and still not agree with them. And you can also build your own sort of self-awareness and your feeling wheel that I've read a lot lot about that as using, helping you with empathy, because it's not just about I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm bored. Yeah. There's so many other feelings that you can dig into.
The one chart I have has 64, and that's from Permission to Feel, but there's other wheels I've noticed with feelings on them.
Yeah.
And then there's one for kids that's really, really good using vocabulary at there.
So, and then there's the mindfulness worldview where you just practice non-judgmental. You treat thoughts as kind of passing clouds rather than hard truths.
Again, returning to the beginner's mind.
Fresh eyes.
Yep. And radical acceptance. This is unconditional positive regard, where you stop fighting the reality of a situation and you free up the mental energy needed to respond effectively rather than reacting out of panic or frustration.
You just acknowledge what is, and then you let go by just detaching from strict outcomes and past regrets. And, you study different perspectives. That's another way of viewing the world, examining how we perceive and process and navigate reality, and then consciously adopt viewpoints outside your own. And we all have these cognitive blind spots, right? And I think when you get rid of some of those cognitive blind spots, then you can improve your decision making and your creativity and your empathy. But you can't do that unless you actually listen and engage with some sorts of information. Even if I'll hear something on a news channel and I'll think, well, that whatever. So then I'll go online or I'll go to a source that I trust and hear about
and double check
it, which is, I think, one of the things we lack a lot. And then there's the viewing the world with gratitude, having this radical presence to appreciate the ordinary extraordinary and find wonder in the present moment. And
like I tried a gratitude journal, and my first go at it was very rough because I kept on thinking of the prayers I was taught to pray at mealtime and at bedtime, and it was very routine and the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, this isn't gratitude. And so I stopped, and I'm learning now a little bit more about
it's not like
part of mindfulness
thank you for
practice.
my food, thank you for my bed, thank you for my no, it's thank you kind of for the challenge that I'm facing, and the fact, and and gratitude also shifts your focus outwards to other people, and it's a way to extract meaning and light and lessons even really during really, really, really difficult times.
The next worldview was having a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. When a challenge comes into your life, instead of avoiding any difficulty to prevent failure, a growth mindset person will view the challenges as essential and interesting opportunities to stretch.
And it helps you kind of look at setbacks in a different way, and gives you the power of yet. I can't do this yet. I don't understand this yet. And it just, effort is not viewed as a negative sign that someone lacks innate brilliance. Rather, putting in hard work and practicing is embraced as just the vehicle that helps us with mastery and growth.
Yeah.
And we have, instead of feeling threatened or insecure when we see the success of others, those with the growth mindset feel more inspired. So, and then there's the practice of active listening, which is another mindset. And it, and some of these overlap a lot.
Yeah,
but
I think that's what starts happening.
There's that intentional presence and curiosity and empathy. And I like this part of active listening, and I think that's where this one sets itself apart from others, is the idea of silence as a tool, and allowing for people
to pause,
for you to pause and not always fill in that empty space.
And it's also okay to ask for permission to pause and say,
I'm just going to give you a chance.
that threw me off. I just need some time to think about this and get back to you.
Yeah. And then there's a worldview where you're constantly challenging your own biases. It takes a lot of self-awareness and intellectual humility, and that deliberate effort to seek out alternative perspectives. And I'm becoming more like that, I think, as I age. And I see the world as very interconnected. And nothing happens in a vacuum.
Well, and as I age, I don't want to become the curmudgeonly old man that's stuck in his opinions and thoughts and just grouches away at the world.
And like complex problems like climate change or urban require integrated approaches that, like bigger holistic solutions. And, sometimes you view the world with empathy and compassion, where you are really focused on our shared humanity and our mutual growth. Like that's another way of viewing the world. And then there's the ecological harmony, where you acknowledge that humans are not separate from nature, but are expressions of the Earth's ecosystem, and we're dependent on its health. And that's kind of I've read a book by Tibetan monks, and that's how they have an ecological harmony. Every living thing is as important as any, like humans aren't other scale. They're as important
as other things.
Yeah.
I've just been reading another book called Intentions, which talks about either 12 or 19 core values that are held universally. And each human doesn't hold all 19 values the same, but one of the values is like ecological love. And some people are really natural or not natural at it. It's their leaning is towards the ecology, and other people are very far away from it, and they embrace other things. So
well, I have met people who are have an ecological harmony worldview.
Mm-hmm.
And they are very focused on
right.
Where I think for us, like
well, you grew up on a farm,
I'm
so there was
worried
respect
about
for
the ecological harmony of our world. And I think sometimes I just put it out of my mind and think, okay, we have brilliant scientists, everything's going to be okay. And
well, I mean, we do our small part
yeah,
that we can.
Yeah, I mean, we all do what we can, and I mean, I think part of some of the bigger problem in the world right now is when your worldview, you have a certain worldview, it's really hard to know what to do to bring that view into perspective. Right. I mean, we're looking at...
And then, like, I'm cynical because I know how much the oil industry created all these recycling programs and educational programs for children so that a whole decade of children would think that by recycling some plastic, they would be saving the environment. Right. Meanwhile, the plastics companies continue to manufacture plastic.
And you know, we did. Plastic. And when
so I don't trust some of these campaigns are funded by the worst perpetrators.
Well, and when we started single-use plastics, right, and we got rid of all the plastic bags
in grocery stores, but everything you buy is wrapped in plastic.
Yeah, so it's just. And we in our little, like you always say to me, no, you might as well not fight that. You're never going to get anywhere with it when I'm trying to fight things. And then I think, well, if we all feel that way all the time, like if you're not kind of working on making sure that your worldview is...
Yeah, like, but I think because of the wide spectrum of worldview, we're not all going to fight for the same things.
No.
As long as somebody's fighting, we can fight other things.
Yes, but I think it's more difficult now to fight.
Anything.
Like, I mean, we're even going through these municipal elections now, and we've put out things to different candidates, and we literally get nothing back because they know that if they get in, they really don't have to listen to the constituents because there's these strong mayor powers and there's this and there's that, and they really don't have to listen to anybody.
Yeah.
They can just try to get in. So for whatever reason, a lot of it is just power hungry. And the final one is to view the world with compassion, to have compassion for yourself, and active, what I call compassionate empathy, where you actually do things about it. And you step outside of your own experiences to understand the world from someone a different point of view, which helps to break down prejudice and biases. And that you truly believe in a common humanity, that understanding that pain and discomfort and the human struggle are universally shared experience. And then you can build some tolerance and connection. And then just at the end, I was just thinking, like, what influences your worldview? And obviously...
Certainly we're born with a few genetic predispositions, but I think mostly it's going to be nurture and
and your family and your upbringing.
Our friendships during especially adolescence and early 20s are going to have big impact on
whether you were able to get an education, how much of an education, where you got your education,
how much trauma or triumphs and daily interactions, and basically for some people how much luck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And personal experience and whatever relationships and community you are part of.
Culture and geography play a huge part.
Huge. Belief systems and religion, where you are. Like, if you had a bad experience with religion, then you reject certain things. And if you had a good experience or you get caught up in it, well,
if it rewards you for being part of it.
Yeah.
Then.
And then there's the media and information sources.
Yeah, when we grew up, there were 2 channels or 3 channels, and we had like 3 news stations, and now it's infinite. And it's hard to stay on top of which ones are legitimate and which ones are just making stuff up.
And then your life stage, obviously, like as you age, and your economic status influences it as well. Sometimes people who have a lot of wealth or luck really do look down on people who don't and don't understand.
And don't bother with expanding a worldview. They have a very narrow, selfish one.
And their children are able to like manage because they have access to wealth even if they haven't earned it.
Right.
Like depending on whether their parents are just
And then there's also
floating
very
them.
benevolent wealthy people.
Yeah.
And then in the very unfortunate, there's some very generous people that don't have economic means, and yet they still give beyond them.
Or they
beyond
live
what they
beyond their
can,
means, and then they're
or-
angry with
and
society for not whatever. So
and blame everything on
yeah,
society.
and
So I
then-
think there's the whole spectrum across. all-
absolutely. And then your personal reflection, your mindfulness, your self-awareness, your own cognitive dissonance definitely like impacts your worldview, how well read you are, whether you are, caught up in the busyness of life, or whether you
Mhm.
take time for whether you value simplicity, like all those things play in, and
Into
whether you're
your
even
worldview.
aware when you do something that
Yeah.
do you know how to say you're sorry? Do you know how to make restitution for something? Are you
Mhm.
do you know how to actually sit with someone who's suffering or sad or whatever? Do you back away from that? Like all those things impact your worldview. And I think people who have a harder time supporting people who are struggling, their worldview is a lot harsher,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
they don't even think about
Or they don't even think
Yeah.
about it.
So
Yeah.
anyway, just interesting to kind of consider what all the different ways that you can view the world, and whether you're the things we talked about today are pretty positive.
Yes.
So there's also some negative things too, but I just didn't
So,
feel like going down that path.
Right. Coming up, you'll have an opportunity to take an online quiz and kind of figure out what your strongest worldviews are and where you need to grow.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Okay. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for considering this topic. And on the end of July, we're going to talk about status, because we haven't done that for a while. And I
No.
thought I would like to just
Status
do some
and
exploring.
identity signaling.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So thanks for joining us for this little discussion of worldviews. What is your worldview? Get ready to take our quiz and enjoy. Here it's a beautiful, hot, sunny summer day. So I don't know what it's like. where
Enjoy
you are.
the second half of July.